Good evening and welcome along to Matchday Live here on Fox's Hub as we build up to Leicester's first cup game of this brand new season. Hopefully the road to Wembley starts tonight. Tranmere Rovers are the visitors here at King Power Stadium. Without further ado, for this second round Carabao Cup tie, let's get all of tonight's team news. Plenty changes from the game at the weekend, 8 of them in fact for Steve Cooper and his Leicester City side. It's a first start for Jordan Ayew. Oliver Skipp as well gets his first start, as does Carabao at central defence. So this is the 11 then. It's Danny Ward in goal, Thomas, Fast, Akoli and Ricardo. Winks and Skipp in midfield with Mavididi, Ndidi and Casey McAteer supporting that man, Jordan Ayew. On the bench, it's Everson, Justin, Cody, Fatawu, Decordova-Reid, Chowdhury, Nelson, Alves and Popov. From a Tranmere point of view, Nigel Adkins, we think has gone for a 4-4-2. It's Murphy in goal. A little more on him a bit later on in the show because he may or may not have been the goalkeeper at Wembley when these two sides met back in 2000, and a certain man next to me did something in that game anyway. We'll get on to that. Matt Elliott has already got a smile on his face. Turnbull, Walker, Davis and Norman make up the rest of the defence. Patrick, Hendry, Merry and Jennings in midfield with Davison and Saunders, the two strikers. Well, I teased you there. Welcome to Matt Elliott, who joins me on the sofa, as does Ewan Roberts as well. Great to have you both along, as ever, ahead of this cup game, and hopefully, Ewan, as we said, the start of a long cup journey.
Yeah, I mean, get the first win of the season. I think that would be important for Steve Cooper. Get a bit of momentum going into the season. After the disappointing day on Saturday, I've seen quite a bit of the highlights of the Fulham game. It just wasn't to be on the day, but it's not an easy place to go, Craven Cottage. I've been there many times and never come away with a victory. But yeah, and I think that's why Steve's gone. I know he's made a lot of changes, which I think we all expected and anticipated. But it's a really, really strong starting 11. Starting 11, when you look at it on paper, should win the game and should win it quite comfortably, really.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that team, and there are multiple changes, and people talk about Leicester's supposed sort of lack of depth at this level, at Premier League level. But those multiple changes, that seems not a lot different in terms of all-round strength to the weekend, really. Especially with certain players coming in who, I don't know, been a topic of debate as to should they or shouldn't they be in the starting 11 in the league fixtures. But what there is, I think people generally accept, and the manager states himself, in that sort of attacking midfield, stroke forward area, Leicester maybe need a little bit more in terms of for going forward. In as much as when it has made changes like Wilfred Ndidi, who's capable, we've seen he can play in that advanced midfield role last season, but ideally there'd be someone else in that part of the pitch, wouldn't it? But I've got every confidence in Leicester tonight. As Ewan says, first and foremost, it's getting through to the next round, getting a victory, just sort of building a little bit of confidence, really, hopefully, which to some degree, the first two fixtures have, in some form, in terms of competing against Tottenham, and deservedly getting a draw in the end when it looked difficult, and then against Fulham, there were pluses. There were minuses as well, of course, the defeat as much as anything. But yeah, it's sort of growing into the season, isn't it? And tonight's vital to help to assist with that.
Yes, we'll hear plenty more from Matt and Ewan throughout the show here on Matchday Live as we build up to kick-off. Of course, we'll take a look back at the game away to Fulham at the weekend in the Premier League. Obviously, Leicester not getting what they wanted from it. We'll talk about that. We'll also hear from Casey McAteer, who starts this evening, fresh off a new deal, of course, as well. Some classic Tranmere strikes. Where else were we going to go than Wembley back in 2000? And we'll also take a look at Nigel Adkins' Tranmere Rovers as well, who have picked up 3 clean sheets at the start of their League Two campaign. We'll be fairly happy as well with the start that they've made, including beating Walsall at the weekend. They've made a number of changes, of course, though, as well. Very injury hit Tranmere. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens, Ewan. But I think in terms of the feel-good factor, we felt it second half against Spurs, didn't we? We felt it post-match against Spurs, in and around the ground. If Leicester can get a victory tonight, they can get that good feeling back going into the game, of course, back here on Saturday, which is big against Villa.
I mean, when you look at this competition, I mean, the club's done really well in it. Obviously, we've seen Matty's goals in, is it 2000, Matty?
I think so, mate. I think it was 2000,
you know, in the last 8 years, I think the club's been in the quarterfinals 4 times, or got to the semi-final as well, where unlucky to lose at Villa in the manner that they did. And Dan, we all know that the priority, the club's in 3 competitions this season. The priority is, you know, staying in the Premier League, making sure this time next season the club is playing Premier League football. But it's always nice to have a cup run, and I think what especially this competition, what it does and what it gives Steve Cooper a chance for him to have a look at other players. I mean, some players who probably thought their careers were going to be elsewhere. You know, Danny Ward probably was fourth choice last season under Enzo Maresca. He's been brought in by Steve Cooper. I'm sure they know each other quite well. You know, young Luke Thomas had to go out on loan to Middlesbrough, to Sheffield United. He's been given another opportunity, a new lease of life for him. So
that's what a new manager brings.
It's that new manager. It's a fresh start for everybody. Everybody starts on a clean slate, and they'll get their opportunities as a lot are tonight.
So one of those, I guess, Matt, if they impress tonight, okay, it is against League 2 opposition, with all respect, of course, to Tranmere. But if they can impress, a player can put their hand up and say to Steve, I want to now start at the weekend.
Yeah, I think more so now than ordinarily, really, because unless teams are going along over a period of time and not doing very well, then you've got a chance to make a claim towards the first team starting lineup. But at the moment, it is a time of change and adapting a little bit and developing. As Steve Cooper's coming in, he's obviously assessed things in pre-season. He's made some quite strong, direct changes already in his initial selections, but he'll be open to change and open to looking for reasons to bring other players in. He'll be looking for the right formula over a course of time. And I think, you know, the way it's likely to go for Leicester this season, it's going to be, you know, a collective effort over a period of time. And with Steve Cooper coming in, it's, you know, relatively short notice. Nothing's going to be sort of straightforward from the off, and players have got real opportunities for the reasons you and Ewan have just mentioned about a new regime, but also it's sort of finding the right combinations of players, the right mentality as well, because he's learning every day about his players' personality and character, and Leicester are going to need a lot of that this campaign.
Because you get that initial 6-week period of pre-season to get your philosophy, to get your ideas over to the squad, Dan. You're getting to know each player individually, what they're like as characters. But to be fair, 6 weeks is nowhere near enough. You know, Steve's still learning about his team, about his players, what's best for Leicester City going forward. And as I say, that's what's good about this competition, that it gives him an opportunity to get some fitness levels into players who haven't featured much in pre-season, who haven't featured much in the Spurs and the Fulham game, and get some much needed minutes into their legs.
That's a good point about the fitness side as well, because I mean, it amuses me how players do keep so fit these days. I know it's, you know, the obvious answer is they look after themselves and they train and apply.
Bit better than us, mate.
Slightly better than us, I'm sure. No, but just in pure, like, game time, pre-season. We spoke about it in the pre-season period. I like to play at least 3 full games, you know, whatever standard, just for that duration, whoever the opposition were. But these days, there's got to be a good few players who haven't played one full 90 plus minutes. A number of them have, but not everyone, I don't think, if you discount behind closed doors games. But those players that haven't featured prominently in the Premier League games, how do they keep ticking over? And then they've got to be expected to come in at a level. It's amazing how they do it.
When you look at the starting 11 then, Ewan, we can remind supporters of that. There's been a number of changes, of course, from the team at the weekend. Who will be in the dressing room right now the most excited and I guess the most eager and keen to go out there and really put a performance in for firstly the manager and the supporters as well?
I look at the two wide players. Casey McAteer, fresh on signing a new contract. You know, broke into the team last season. He was absolutely flying until he pulled his hamstring up at, I think it was Ewood Park. Steffi Mavididi, you know, fantastic first season at the football club. 12 goals in the championship. A real handful down that left-hand side. I think he'll be bitterly disappointed that he started this season on the bench, having had the season that he did under a previous manager. You know, that has to be said. But yeah, I think those two, I don't know if they've got a point to prove, but you know, two good performances from those two, and they might play themselves into the manager's thoughts before the Villa game on Saturday.
No, well, you look through the team, you've got a number of players there, haven't you? You're right. The two wide players immediately catch the eye, and there's a case for, I think there will be ongoingly for those two to feature from the off in the Premier League, depending on form. Yeah, Ricardo as well. He justified him probably feeling a little bit disgruntled at not being involved more regularly so far. Okoli, obviously new signing. He'll understand why he hasn't started because Fass and Westergaard have been pretty secure and done all right actually the first couple of games. So, but chance for him to showcase himself. Ayew coming in, new signing. I know he got a start. He came on later on at Craven Cottage, but he'll be able to sort of strutting his stuff a little bit and see what he can offer. I'd be interested to see, depending on how the game goes, how much game time Will Alves gets as well, because he is someone who can play in that attacking midfield area and carry the ball, and he's got a little bit of, well, a big bit of talent about him, big bit of ingenuity about him, and he has that sort of style of play that Leicester haven't really got someone of his mould. Possibly he's different to Buonanotte, really. He sort of carries the ball a little bit more, but he'll be hoping that he can stick his hand up to the manager as well, get an opportunity this evening. Perhaps get on earlier and give himself that time to sprinkle his magic, maybe.
Hopefully so. Let's take a look back at the game at the weekend then, away in West London. Matt was there for us on co-commentary duty. Sadly, though, to witness a 2-1 defeat.
Let's see how he goes this afternoon on his home debut. They've worked that one nicely into the box here. And the shot from Traore, very well saved by Hermansen. Turned it round the post. First danger moment though after 3.5 minutes. It's a real press, but here is Buonanotte, who brilliantly turns away from Lukic in midfield and rolls it forward to De Cordova-Reid, who shoots well, and it's turned behind by Leno. What a save that is, and what a moment that would have been for De Cordova-Reid.
Well, you knew not to get carried away, Chris, didn't you?
Well, I think everyone does when they go to the Etihad. Here is Smith Rowe. Smith Rowe, he's into the box here, and he shoots and scores. His first Fulham goal. It suddenly opened up. Smith Rowe had the pace. He got beyond James Justin, and then he planted a left-footed finish into the back of the net. The game had gone quiet, but it's burst into life with the first goal of the afternoon. Fulham 1, Leicester 0.
Outside, and it was good movement.
Buonanotte's ball in, Fass is up. Leicester have scored. Wout Fass with the first away goal of the season. But the flag is up, and Fass's celebration is cut short. Jamie Vardy asks why. They'll check this. Leicester fans are making their voices heard. Is it 1-1 or is it 1-0? The referee blows his whistle and he's given the goal. And Leicester do equalise. Darren Bond has had a look. He thinks it's fine. The away end has erupted.
The Christensen overall has done a decent job of containing Traore. His Iwobi though on the left hand.
Iwobi flying forward into the box here, and he might go all the way, and he has. Hermansen got a touch, but Iwobi has struck. Leicester were undone down their right hand side. Goal out of nothing really.
Well, apologies there for the technical difficulties, clearly,
Still having
with
it.
the game at Fulham. Ewan, we know how the rest of it goes. Obviously, Fulham there getting the winner in the end. And Leicester, they did well to fight back into the game, didn't they? It just didn't quite go their way in the end.
No, I mean, Fulham had a few chances in the opening 10, 15 minutes, weathered the storm, and then sort of conceded a disappointing goal from a Leicester point of view. I think James Justin is a bit too narrow, maybe trying to cover his two centre-halves a bit too much, which enables, obviously, Smith Rowe to get the space that he needs to finish for the first goal. The second goal, I think he gets dragged to Robinson, I think it is, and there's a massive hole in behind him, which the ball gets transferred into Iobi. Is it Iobi who scored there? Iobi. Harry Winks just can't quite get back in time. But, fast score is a good goal. I mean, had that been disallowed, I would have never watched football again. But it's a tough place to go, Dan. They had the 10th best away form, home form in the Premier League last season. They depended on their home form to keep them in that division. They went to Man U on the Friday night before the season started, gave a really good performance, come away with unlucky to lose the game 1-0. They've lost a really good player in Paulinho, but they've strengthened well. So it was never going to be easy. Just lacked a little bit of cutting edge in the end to get that equaliser that would have been great on the day.
Yeah, I think you see what the challenge ahead is for Leicester, really, when you go to, the likes of Fulham, because they're considered generally like a mid-table, shall we say, a decent mid-table Premier League team, but they've got some quality individuals there. They've got a very good manager, and they've got a depth there as well. Like the players that came on for them in the second half, very decent Premier League players still. But they've got a sort of array of talent. Excuse me, and you look from the off and you think, right, people that are saying Leicester, if they're going to have, if they're going to reach their targets this season, they need to be picking up something against the likes of Fulham, even away. And it was easier said than done, that, and so it proved to be, really. So that might be a little bit overly harsh from Leicester's point of view. Fulham at home, you're hoping to win, aren't you? You're going to pick up points like that. That's going to be easier said than done when the time comes. So it shows you that.
But barring maybe the second lapse, they probably do get that point, don't they?
Yeah, no, exactly. But it shows you the levels Leicester have got to be at, because they weren't a million miles off that. Fulham, probably rightly, will claim that they had the better chances, the greater possession, looked the more efficient side all round. But at this stage of the season, Steve Cooper won't be too deterred by that. Leicester hung in there, and they were in the game. I heard him mention it after the match, and that's fair enough at this stage of the season. They need to develop that a little bit, and possess, to create sort of more of a threat, more consistently, and a little bit of control further up the pitch. The second half, it was pretty much nip and tuck, really. It wasn't too much in it, but you would just wait that one little slip, and you thought, maybe, and then a little bit of looseness, as you mentioned, Ewan. Ultimately, but that's how small the margins were. Ultimately, a point away from there would have been a decent result, wouldn't it?
You can probably get away with those two goals that Fulham scored. If it happened last season in the Championship, Leicester probably got away with it, Dan. But now we've gone up a level, playing against the top teams with top players. You don't get away with it. You get punished.
Yeah, yeah. You've got to be ultra focused, disciplined, concentration. Is that you can't let your standards slip at all, and it's different level or two, depending on who you're coming up against. So, Fatawa at the weekend, he looked up for it. I thought personally, he looked to be bright and wanting to get involved in the game. But
understandably, he's on the bench tonight, though. I think.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying that in that instance, stuff with him, but he's coming up against Robinson, who's a top operator, and it's a different proposition. So the team have just got to adjust to that a little bit, but don't be down on themselves, because they've acquitted themselves reasonably well so far. But anyway, that was then. You want to talk about tonight, I take it.
Well, no, I mean, John now came off the bench.
Yeah.
He looked bright. He won a lot of free kicks. That's something that he's very good at doing.
Unbelievably good at it. he did it straight away, didn't he?
Yeah.
Instantly, right in front of us in the commentary box, and I was having a little giggle to myself, to be fair, because you could see it coming. He almost looks over his shoulder. Here the defender's like, here they come. And he's waiting for the nudge. Oh, it goes down. The ref blows the whistle, and you think it's quite funny how it pans out. But he'll
but
bring.
If you're winning a game 1-0 and there's 10, 15 minutes to go, he's the exact type of player you want.
Yeah, and in fairness, it's what Leicester wanted on Saturday, really, for that. To help them have a bit of respite. Not that they were under siege, but just really slow the game down. Make it work in Leicester's favour, give the defence a bit of a rest, get themselves up the pitch, but ultimately to no avail. But it'll be a good solid acquisition for sure.
I mean, I saw a lot of him when he was at Swansea. Never been prolific. I think that's a fair thing to say. But in what he does offer you, good movement, got that little bit of pace. He's good with his back to goal. He's good at receiving the ball when he's got pressure up behind him. I mean, you're talking about someone who's got over 100 caps at international level. 28 goals for Ghana. That's not bad, Dan. That's not bad. He will definitely bring something into the squad. He can play in that number 10 role as well if asked, just behind Jamie Vardy. And as Matty sort of alluded to, he can play on the left. He can play on the right. He can play in any position at the top half of the pitch, and he does bring you valued experience in those positions.
Yeah, I guess he is a very versatile option, isn't he, that Leicester have? And tonight we see him start, we think, as the main focal point, the main number 9. That might change. It might be Stefan Mavididi, who we've seen come on and play in that position a little bit this season. We'll wait and see, obviously, when the teams kick off. But you could easily then see him start left wing or right wing, Jordan Ayew, in
the good thing is, he's comfortable in wherever you would ask him to play. If you ask him to play on the left, he is. He's got good balance. He wouldn't be afraid of going down the line and putting a good ball in with his left foot. He's capable of doing exactly the same on the right hand side. He can pick a pass. He can open a defence if you give him that little bit of space and time. He's definitely got attributes. He's definitely got quality. Hopefully we'll see all of those things in a Leicester City shirt on a regular basis.
Hopefully so. On the right-hand side for the Foxes, though, this evening, I think it's fair to say that will be Casey McAteer. He spoke now after the game with Fulham at Craven Cottage, looking ahead to this clash with Tranmere this evening.
Casey, big game in the League Cup coming up, but for you personally, how good has it been getting minutes in a couple of Premier League games now?
Yeah, it's been really good. Obviously, it's where you want to play your football. What I believe is the best league in the world. So to get minutes in this league is very, very good, and hopefully I can keep that going.
And does that show the faith that Steve Cooper has in you, the new contract as well this summer?
I hope so. I mean, obviously, like you say there, being rewarded with a new contract, it gives me a lot of confidence. Hopefully I'm going to pay the club now, and people who believe in me can deliver on the pitch when I get the chance.
Tranmere coming up, a game which is pretty historic for Leicester City in the past. How much are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, very much so. At home under the lights, it won't be an easy game. They'll come with their game plan, and we've just got to respect that and play our way and hopefully get the win and get into the next round.
How was your role being explained to you, I guess, by Steve Cooper? You came on here kind of a left back. Are you expecting to play there or further forward like we've been used to seeing you?
I mean, I'll play wherever the manager wants to play me. For me, it's just about getting as many minutes as I can. Whether that, like today, being at left back, so be it. I'll play there and do my best for the team. Obviously, me as myself would want to play a bit higher, but where I get put on the pitch, I'll give 100% every time.
Some new players, I guess, to link up with Oliver Skipp and Jordan Ayew. How much are you going to enjoy playing with those two, do you think, in particular?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, they're players who've got a lot of experience, especially in this league. They're old clubs. So, yeah, hopefully we can build a good one on and off the pitch for them too. I'm sure we will.
We'll see what cup runs can do for confidence and for minutes for players like yourself. How important is the League Cup this season?
Yeah, very important. Like you say, it's good for gaining confidence, getting minutes in your leg, valuable minutes. And like I say, we won't be taking it very lightly. It's a game that we take very seriously. Going in, looking to win, play our way, implement our style, and like I said before, focus to the next round.
That was Casey McAteer there, speaking to our commentator Chris Parrott at the weekend. Always speaks really well, Casey. And he knows tonight will be a tough game regardless. I think any game at this level is tough, isn't it? But it's an opportunity. He knows that. It's an opportunity for him as well, hopefully, to really put a stamp on the game, as well as that man on your screen there, Ricardo, who we assume will be just behind him.
Yeah, I mean, burst onto the scene last season, didn't he? I was ever so impressed with him. Where, as I said before, he did his hamstring up at Blackburn. His goal scorer from wide areas, even though he only got 6, but obviously injuries hampered his season. He puts himself in really good positions in the box to get those goals. I mean, 3 or 4 were very, very similar. He can sort of sniff the area where he needs to be. And delighted he got his new contract, and that must give him a massive boost. That in a short space of time, the new manager's come in, he's had a look at him, and he's thought this young lad deserves a new contract, and rightly so. Superb. I remember him sitting on the sofa here with me. I can't remember what game it was last season, and he was an absolutely fantastic lad. Pleasure to speak to, and as we saw there, a really good speaker.
Yeah. We just saw on your screen just a moment ago Oliver Skipp, first opportunity really to see him, Matt, in a Leicester shirt from the start. We saw him, of course, at Craven Cottage, didn't we? Seemed to play really well when he came on, actually.
Did okay. Did exactly what you expected him to do, really. He's happy to get on the ball, isn't he, and get things ticking over, working alongside Harry Winks. He would have felt possibly at home even more so in that respect. But he's relatively experienced, isn't he? He's been around for a little while now, Skip.
You think he's older than 23, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. And you know, he knows what top flight football's about. He'd be frustrated, really, that he hasn't had more opportunities than have come his way. But he's well thought of, isn't he, in lots of circles, and he'll have no problem about coming in. I don't think. It gives me the impression that he's not established, but he's going to come to Leicester and make his mark. It's a challenge for him. It's the right time for him to go and become a main figure at a club. In this case, Leicester City. He's not going to come in sort of tentatively, I don't think, and edge his way into the team. He'll come in as, and I think Steve Cooper will sort of express that to him, really, that he wants him to be, a dominant player in the setup, really, and come in and be a mainstay and be a big influence as well, because of what the levels and the people he's rubbed shoulders with earlier in his career. That can have a real positive effect on the rest of the players, and it's the right time for Oliver Skipp himself.
And I think what he will look forward to is playing on a regular basis with his old mate from Spurs, Harry Winks.
Yeah, he's
complement each other superbly, I think.
Mm. Yeah, and they say he fit in well. And it'd be interesting to see when at Tottenham. I mean, he was getting good reviews at certain periods as well, wasn't he? But coming in, his own game might develop, because he might say, actually, I don't want you to just like hold there and get hold of the ball and be that defensive midfielder and tick play over. I want him to. I think he's capable of it as well. He's shown it before.
He showed that even in the 20 minutes at Fulham.
I think he's got more than that. Like, he can get himself into advanced areas, supporting the front players, really. Like, Winks is he will sit and tip things over, but he looks like he's got quite a good engine. Skipp is quite aggressive, as well as being technically good on the ball. But I think it might develop his own game, where he ends up breaking forward from midfield on occasion.
Which is vital. You need that in your team, don't you? You need that drive from midfield.
You need goals. You need goals from all over the pitch. I mean, we got a centre half scoring on Saturday, which was great. It's so important that players contribute to the goal scoring record at the football club in the Premier League. If the club's going to sort of be in this position next season. I don't know how many goals he scored in his career. I mean, I spoke before the Spurs game. The long season that he had at Norwich, I'm not too sure how many goals he scored, but his performances were absolutely magnificent. It really, really was. I mean, he was dictating games. He was showing the energy that Matt sort of mentioned there, box to box, getting forward to support the centre forwards, getting into good areas in that final third. And I think that the most important thing is, when he does get into those sort of last third areas, he has got the quality to put good distribution into the box.
Yeah, and I guess for him coming here, as you've both actually rightly said, it's a real opportunity for him now, isn't he? And hopefully, if this is his first of many starts for this football club, it's an opportunity again for him tonight to show that from the beginning, show in front of the Leicester fans.
He's coming to a fantastic football club, with unbelievable facilities with a good, healthy squad of players, with a new manager, a club that's paid quite a lot of money for your services. I mean, that gives you a boost, even though the valuation and the money paid hasn't got anything to do with him, and I'm sure it won't bother him whatsoever. But he knows this is a good chance for him, I won't say to kickstart his career, but to play regular Premier League football, something that he never sort of experienced at his former club.
Wilfred Ndidi in what we think will be the 10 role again. We saw that a lot last season, Matt, didn't we?
Yeah.
In that advanced position. We know he's used to doing that. Do you see it more as being Winks and Skip with Ndidi there, or more of maybe Winks holding with those two a bit more advanced? I don't know.
Yeah, I think in a Premier League fixture, the former, definitely, certainly from the outset, and I think probably even tonight, in the Carabao Cup competition, because Leicester are going to be trying to be solid first and foremost, and then sort of build from that, even within games, not just over the season. But that's what I was saying about Skip. I don't think Leicester can rely on just a front four. If you count, I'd say that number 10, if that's what you want to classify it as, 2 wide players and a centre forward. There you go, boys. Get on with that against Premier League defences. They're going to need strengthening and support from elsewhere, from midfield, fullbacks, etc. Set piece work as well. But I think tonight, from the outset, I think it will still be like 4-2-3-1 so much, because you need that forward midfielder to help back and in defence as well in Premier League fixtures, certainly when the other teams have got that midfield 3, which more often than not they do. But then later on, if Leicester get a positive start, you might see Skip developing it into a 4-1-4-1, if you like, either 2 advanced midfielders, as Leicester hopefully grow in confidence as the game goes on. That's probably the plan. We'll have to see how things transpire.
One thing we definitely saw against Spurs, Ewan, was in that second half particularly, Leicester were really good at, they got a lot of numbers forward, didn't they, when it mattered. I think there was 4 players in the box when that cross from Fatawu came in. Vardy maybe doesn't have the space if that's not the case.
I mean, the second half was outstanding. Really, really enjoyed it. You talk about being on the front foot, as you say. You talk about committing bodies forward to try and get back into the game. That's exactly what Steve Cooper informed his players to do before they went out, and they implemented the plan to absolutely perfection. The way they closed down, the way they hunted in packs. They played far further forward in the second half than they did the first. They were brave. The intensity, the energy, everything about that second half performance was top class. It really, really was. Got the goal that they deserved. On another day, with a little bit of luck, maybe could have gone on to take all 3 points on the night. I thought it was a fair result. But the second half performance, that is the standard that has to be sort of kept, especially at Premier League level, if the club's going to be sort of okay next season.
I said at the very start, Matt, of the show, and when we came on, that tonight's an opportunity, isn't it? Because Saturday's a massive game against Villa now at home, to try and get something from that against a very good Villa team. We know that. But tonight's an opportunity to get some confidence in the legs, particularly whether that's for the forward players, to get some confidence amongst the supporters as well. A good win probably does that.
That would be ideal, wouldn't it? And that most people, I would say, maybe expect that, but it's certainly hoping for that. And but if it doesn't materialise for whatever reason, Tranmere are going to not give up the ghost too easily, are they? They're going to come here. It's a big occasion for them, and just watching them in the warm-up on the screen, and we've got a few players there who they just look like they're up for a little bit of a challenge tonight. It's an opportunity for them. So Leicester will have to be at a decent level this evening. They've got the players to pass the test, but sometimes these games don't always go totally straightforward.
How do you stop it not being the case?
Well, it's primarily about attitude, and I don't think Leicester. I think Leicester will be all right tonight. I think they'll put on a decent performance as well. Sometimes you think, I don't know, it could be tougher than people think, etc. But maybe it'll turn out that way. But with the players, for the reasons we mentioned already, you've got good standard. You've got decent Premier League players there, and a large percentage of them who a lot of them have got points to prove as well, or points to make. And reasons to be at it on their game. It's not like we're sort of a third of the way through the season, and you know, some players are getting a bit disenchanted and they're just playing for the sake of getting some minutes. There's a lot to play for as well, and if they've got the right attitude, which they're going to need this season anyway, they'll be trying to put in a real performance, and I think that will serve Leicester well.
I mean, sometimes you know what it's like when some players would probably think starting this game would be a sort of a punishment. If you like, you can't be like that. I mean, as a centre forward, I'd want to play in this game, even though it's only the third game of the season, because it gives me a chance of
especially if you're someone like Steffi Mavididi, who hasn't started.
Yeah, it gives you a chance of getting some goals, Dan.
Yeah,
and that's the massive thing for me. And Matt's hit the nail on the head. Attitude. If the lads go out there thinking this is a good chance for me, even though it's against League Two opposition where we should dominate the game, we should win quite comfortably, the attitude's got to be 100% right. And I'm sure it will be. Steve Cooper wouldn't have it any other way.
That's a fair point, actually, that you would make. Steve Cooper has been around long enough. He knows that, and you expect that he won't let the players do that.
Well, I'm sure the manager was trying to enforce his views on things, and more often than not, that would be enough. Like I said, the stage of the season as well. You know, it's early. There's going to be a lot of changes and comings and goings throughout the season. Even within the squad internally. It's not like anything's sort of set, a pattern that has been formed, really. If this was the fifth round or whatever of the Cup, okay, you're looking to get to the later stage by then, but sometimes it's just giving the players a game, like keep the squad fresh and what have you. But this is still impactful on the manager's decision-making come Saturday as well, with the quality of the squad, toughness of the game, game by game. His thinking is going to be affected, and I just think Leicester generally have shown a good attitude in different varying circumstances last season, and I think they have the right attitude. They're going to need to, but they've got the right manager to instill that.
I mean, I think I'm right. This time last season, same opposition away from home at Prenton Park. I think Enzo Maresca picked a strong side.
Vardy and Ndidi on
the
scores.
Went up there. Showed a really good hunger, good attitude, won the game 2-0.
In fairness, Leicester generally have over recent years in cup competitions away from home, because a number of times you thought, well, if they're not at it, they're going to away games and stuff, but more often than not, they come through. Yeah,
they did a year ago away at Tranmere Rovers, where I believe Jerry Taggart was on co-commentary duty for us, and he is again this evening. Jerry, this time at home. How's King Power Stadium looking? Good evening to you as well.
Yeah, good evening, chaps. Yeah, nice and pleasant evening here. So, really good conditions for a game of football this evening.
And a game, I'm sure you've just been listening to the two guys here, obviously, against the Tranmere side, but they've started relatively well, got a few clean sheets under their belt. Leicester know this won't be easy, but it's a good opportunity for them if they can get in amongst the goals.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can see that by the team Steve Cooper has picked this evening, that he understands that this is a big banana skin, so he's gone pretty strong. We're seeing Harry Winks and Oliver Skip together on the pitch from the start of the game for the first time, and maybe that's a sign of things to come. So yeah, there's maybe it's a sign that he's maybe not too sure of his starting 11 overall. Mavididi coming into the side, looks like he's got a point to prove to the manager, so it's a perfect evening for him to do that.
Evening, Gerald. Matthew here.
Evening, Matt. Evening.
I saw you in the canteen troughing away earlier, son.
Yes.
It's a second hello of the evening. No, but I was just wondering, Jerry, if you could tell us your memories of my two goals at the cup final against Tranmere, mate. Never mind tonight's game.
It's funny, isn't it, that I was looking through the team sheet and it's the same keeper in goal tonight that was in goal at Wembley that afternoon.
I know, mate.
And Joe Murphy. I mean, that is making me, if not you, feel ancient, by the way.
I know.
24 years ago and he's still plodding on, the lad.
I know, mate. It wasn't a serious question, mate. I don't know if that fact makes me feel better or worse. What do you think? I don't know, with a goalkeeper. Unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, just sort of going over what we've been speaking about, Tags, really. There's a number of, you sort of touched on it there a bit. But there's a number of lads playing tonight who've got big points, well, not big points to prove, but opportunities to make an impression on the manager's way of thinking there. Who do you see who've got those reasons in particular there?
Well, yeah, you've got Ricardo. Obviously, I mentioned Stefan Mavadidi. You could make a shout for Caleb Okoli as well. You know, first time we've seen him this season. How's he going to fare in his first competitive game? We've seen him in obviously in pre-season a bit. I think he knows it enough about, you know, the likes of Casey McAteer, Wilfred Ndidi and who have there. So yeah, and again Danny Ward. So I think especially, you know, with the likes of Stefan Mavadidi and Ricardo not starting the season, you know, it's a big evening for them too in particular.
It's interesting, Jerry, that each of you have kind of picked a different player in terms of one to watch tonight and one who's maybe got a point to prove, if that's the right term. But what have you seen of Okoli so far? Probably only the pre-season games really that you've had a chance to take a look at him.
Yeah, some little bits I've liked, and some little bits, you know, I think, yeah, he's a little bit raw still. Needs to learn, I suppose, a slightly different style of football from the Italian style to the English style. But, you know, he's got the raw materials, and he's got pace, he's big, he's strong, he's quick. So yeah, you know, and it's a good game for him. You know, playing against League 2 opposition. You know, the important thing for him is not to take this game lightly and not to take Tranmere lightly just because they're in, you know, the 4th tier of English football, which I'm sure he won't. He looks to have the right sort of attitude, so I'm hoping he does well tonight.
Just finally, Jerry, just so we don't have to listen to Matt talk about it all evening, fond memories, I'm sure, of that day back 24 years ago.
Yeah, well, what Matt feels, you know, to remember is I made a near post run. I came flying across a near post, and all the defenders followed me, and I left Matt free at the back post just to nod it in. He just literally flicked it off his head into the net. But it was that near post run that I made that just absolutely bamboozled the Tranmere defence.
Yeah, you should have kept running straight down the tunnel, mate.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Jerry. We'll hear from you. You're on commentary duty alongside John Dunn this evening. Right, we've just mentioned the goals there. Let's take a look at them, shall we?
Here we go.
And a nice little couple of seconds of Matt Elliott magic against this opposition 24 years ago.
Elliott will be a target in the centre along with Jerry Taggart. Eski is on the near post. Here's Elliott! The crossbar in! Back Elliott! Right for Leicester City! Elliott, the hero of the semi-final, has done it again with a call of Tranmere Rovers. Guppy now with the corner. It's Elliott! And then back in front. Tranmere's joy is short-lived, and it's Elliott again.
All about that near post run, wasn't it, from Jerry Taggart?
Didn't see much of it in the first instance. Second one, maybe, Tagged, yeah.
Do you ever tire of?
No, not really, if I'm honest. But I don't get up and press repeat every morning. Just
every other morning.
Just every other weekend, yeah. No, it's great times, wasn't it? I mean, that was my pinnacle of my career. It was ridiculously good day for me. Scored the goals, got the man of the match, got the trophy, got the Alan Hardacre trophy, where we got my medal, got a bottle of champagne, got a cap off a supporter. It was all happening, mate. It was great.
Every Leicester player on that pitch for your first goal was delighted by one. Tony Cotty. He was desperate. Typical centre forward on that back stick, a yard out. He was desperate to have a little tap in from about.
He might have ended up offside if he popped it in as well. He keeps saying to me, because it was an unusual goal, wasn't it? It came off the bar and like span. I think it clipped the goalkeeper, but it was sort of spinning as well. So I still can't work.
He's ready for it, TC.
Exactly what happened, yeah. And then it hit the ground. Here we go. Let's have a proper look here again.
That's
there.
slightly behind
So it's
you
hit-
as well.
It's hit the bar. Yeah, it's up behind me. It's an
Yeah.
unusual run. And it's hit the keeper's arm and sort of like spun in. It was going to spin in anyway, right? So I'm not giving it to Joe Murphy, who unbelievably is playing tonight.
Yeah.
I know. I was saying earlier, I said, no wonder I scored against him. He was only about 12 in that final, wasn't he? But yeah, no, he's 41, 42, isn't he? That's something ridiculous.
43.
Most important goals
43.
you've ever scored?
Well, yeah, I suppose. I mean, they still get remembered
Semi-final,
now.
yeah.
Semi-final, yeah. Oh, yeah. Did I score in that as well? Yeah, Aston Villa. That was another header, you might have guessed. But that was funny, the second goal, because me and Tags, he won't admit to it, but we were slightly at fault, both of us. We both sort of didn't go for the ball. It fell to David Kelly, who was
For
my
their
man.
goal, this is.
Yeah, sorry, their goal. David Kelly. And then Tim Fowles gets beat at the near post. At the end of the day, it's my man. Right, so I'm like, better go down the other end and
Made
sort
up for
things
it.
out.
Made
there,
up for it, mate.
But Steve Guppy could put it on a sixpence for you. That header, I did pretty much the same run twice, and not a run I usually made. He was going behind the defender, and he sort of lost his bearings, Dave Chandler, unfortunately for him on both occasions. And but the second one, I've got a picture of me smiling before I headed it. I knew I was going to score. It was like one of those weird.
You knew it was coming.
The first one, I'll do my best to get it on target, mate. But then the second one, I was like, and it was why I always go to you about no defender on the back post.
Yeah.
Like, there was no one there. It was so easy for me. I got ahead of him, and I'm smiling as it's coming to me. That was the rare occasion that I could actually direct it. I knew where I was going, and I knew I was going to score. It was a weird, it's like someone clipped a photo of it. But yeah, happy days. Happy days.
Very much so. Very much so. We'll leave it there, Matt.
Yeah.
But it is nice to reminisce with you. It is. Let's get a reminder of tonight's team news, of course. As Matt has said there, the Tranmere goalkeeper was in goal 24 years ago. He's in goal again tonight for the visitors. We'll get to those in just a moment. Let's do Leicester City, though. Steve Cooper has made 8 changes to the side that lost away at Fulham at the weekend. Danny Ward comes in goal. Thomas, Fass, Akoli and Ricardo across the back four. So Wout Fass, one of those that remains from the weekend, as does Harry Winks and Wilfred Ndidi in midfield. Oliver Skipp is alongside the pair of them in the middle of that midfield. We think with Ndidi pushing on more as a number 10. Again, we think Ayew up top, Mavididi off the left, Casey McAteer off the right. We'll know more again, of course, when they kick off, whether or not it will be Mavididi up top or Ayew. From a Tranmere point of view then, as we've said, Joe Murphy in goal. What a story that is. Turnbull, Walker, Davis and Norman at the back four. Patrick, Hendry, Merry and Jennings in midfield, with Davison and Saunders the 2 strikers. Nigel Adkins, their manager, will be hoping to end a bit of a wretched run actually against Leicester. He's managed against Leicester 10 times in his career, has never beaten them. Hopefully that extends to 11 this evening, and hopefully Leicester can get the win tonight, Ewan, that we've said a number of times this evening already, will just almost kind of kickstart the season a little bit.
Yeah, just get that first win. I think it's hugely important for Steve Cooper in a new job at a new football club. Just get that first win. You know, it was close against Spurs. Tranmere, as you said, made a decent start. I think 5 points from their first 3 games, as you say, haven't conceded a goal, but they've only scored 1. But with that starting 11, even though there's 8 changes, I think it's a really, really strong looking Leicester City starting 11, and I would expect them to win the game quite comfortably.
Yeah, I mean, it's not absolutely vital, but it's pretty important that Leicester get that win that Ewan's saying there. Just set things down a little bit, isn't it? And get players into a bit of a groove that haven't had too much of an opportunity, and just to bring that to sort of develop the squad and the season as well, isn't it? Even at this early stage, and nice positive performance will go down a treat.
Absolutely. We'll find out then, won't we? In around about 10 minutes' time, they'll be kicking off here at King Power Stadium. We'll be back on at half-time with Ewan and with Matt. Before that, though, of course, we have full commentary of tonight's Carabao Cup Round 2 tie against League 2 side Tranmere Rovers. First up was a draw, then it was a defeat, of course, away at Fulham at the weekend. Can the Foxes get their first victory of this new season? Coming up next, we've got all the action with us here on Foxes Hub.
This wonderful